You are listening to the Navigating Adult ADHD podcast with your ADHD coach and expert, Zena. Hello, my sparkly brained friend. How are you doing today? I am so good. I'm so happy to be here with you today and to be talking about one of my favorite ADHD topics, and that is emotional regulation. I love talking all things emotional regulation. Yes. And I was just, as I went to hit record, I was like, holy shit, like 122 episodes? What? Are we sure about that? I've been doing something 122 times? Oh my God. What? Crazy. All right, my friend. So when we're talking about emotional dysregulation, the opposite of being regulated, I just wanted to give like a couple of examples to put some context to this. So maybe it's like feeling overwhelmed after you've just read an email from your boss about some more work that he wants you to take on top of what you're already having to do, right? Or it could be that you're like feeling really anxious about having to go back to work after the school holidays and you just keep getting annoyed at the kids because they're jumping around, making a mess in the living room, right? That's what dysregulated could look like. Maybe you find yourself snapping at your partner when he asks what's for dinner, and then you feel really bad that you reacted that way because really it has nothing to do with him or the dinner, and everything to do with how restless you are feeling inside, right? Dysregulation can show up in such a variety of ways. It could be that you're really irritated and you're really snappy. It could be that you notice that you're feeling anxious or overwhelmed, right? It might be that you notice that you've got like a rapid heart rate and sweaty palms and you're kind of feeling all over the place. That is emotional dysregulation. So what is emotional regulation then, right? Emotional regulation is the ability to recognize, understand, and then effectively manage your emotions. And you guessed it, my friend. That right there is something that us ADHDers can have difficulty with, right? It is one of the executive functions that can misfunction or misfire at times. So how I like to think of this is rather than us being able to regulate our emotions on autopilot, like many of our neurotypical friends, right? We just got to do it manually. We have to regulate our emotions manually long before we can go and flick it over to autopilot mode. Okay? Now, emotional regulation involves knowing three key things. Number one, what you're feeling and why you're feeling it. Okay? Number two, what to do with that emotion, right? What to do with what you're feeling. And number three is how to shift to an emotion that better supports you. So I kind of think of it like it's learning to drive your emotions and instead of letting them drive you, okay? Because our emotions are a lot like a smoke detector. They're alerting us to something important, right? But just like a smoke detector going off, you need to figure out why it's going off, what has caused it to go off before you decide what to do, right? Like the time I woke up at 3 a.m. in the morning with my smoke alarm going off, right? I had to establish that it was simply a faulty battery, right? It was like going off not because of smoke or a fire, right? Instead of calling the police the fire department, right? I had to establish, oh my God, why is it going off first? What do I need to do? Do I need to get out of the house, right? No, it's just going off at 3 a.m., which, trust me, is not a recipe for going back to sleep anytime soon. So inside my emotional regulation course in the membership, right? Yes, I have got an entire course where I teach you how to regulate your emotions, right? And it's amazing, right? So in that course, I teach you how to regulate your emotions, okay? Inside the membership. Now, it is one of the things that I share in that course is a 4-step process, right? This is a tool that I use that I have designed, and it's called the PASS tool, right? And it helps you to pass your emotions through your body and regulate, right? So what I wanted to walk through today is one of the S's in the PASS, okay? So PASS stands for, P is for pause, A is for allow and acknowledge, S is for soothe or move, and the final S is for separate, okay? But I wanted us to focus on the first S today, which is the soothe or move step, right? And that is kind of talking about, part of the what to do with what you're feeling. Okay. So I'm going to share with you 3 of my favorite tools when it comes to, helping to soothe yourself when you're dysregulated and kind of move the emotion through your body. Okay. So the very first one is the physiological sigh. Now, you might have heard of it called or referred to as the double inhale. Okay, so I love the physiological sigh because 1, there's a shit ton of science behind it that backs it up. And 2, the result is so quick, right? When you are dysregulated and you use this breathing technique, you notice it so quickly, right? Like I love teaching it to new people and just seeing them like, oh yeah, okay, that does feel better, right? Like dialing back the intensity of the emotion they're feeling, like, yes. And it's one we can use like anywhere, anytime. Nobody even knows that we're doing it, right? So the way that you do this is you do a double inhale. So you inhale a big amount of air, right? Like you inhale a big breath of air and you do it through your nose. And then you take a little bit more air on top of that, making it a double inhale. And then you exhale through your mouth. And you want to think of that exhale through your mouth like a sigh, right? You're trying to actually create a sigh effect. Okay, so it goes like this. Right? So again, it's that long inhale, a little bit more air on top, and then a sigh, but releasing all the air out through the mouth. Okay, so double inhale, big exhale through the mouth, right? And again, you're trying to like sigh, and you do this a few times, right? And like the science behind it, like if I was just to sort of sum it up, right, is that, when you are in like, when you should be, your body should be in a state of fight or flight, which is, say, for example, when you were like being chased by a lion or there's somebody with a knife running after you, right? Like being in a state of fight or flight will be useful because, you're all about life or death and trying to survive that threat, right? But when, you've just had an argument with your partner in the kitchen or just received an email from your boss or you're staring at your really long to-do list, being in a state of fight or flight then is not useful, okay? You're dysregulated. So a more useful thing to do would be to dial back that intensity of that emotion and help yourself come out of that and regulate, calm, soothe your nervous system, right? So breathing is such a powerful way to do that. And when you're, say, being chased by that lion, one of the things you can't do is you can't sigh, right? You can't sigh when you are in an actual dangerous situation that is like life or death, okay? But you can sigh when you're just like at home, like watching TV, like, right? Like, because you're already pretty chill, okay? So when we recreate this effect in the body, we're helping the body to see we're not in a life or death situation, chill out. Like you can calm down, it's okay, like dial back the intensity. You're not in life or death, you're actually safe. Right, so you're just helping to communicate between the brain and body. Hey, we're safe. It's okay. Like we don't have to be freaking out right now, like we are. Okay. So again, like breathing is one of the most powerful ways that we can do this because what happens as soon as we get dysregulated is our breathing starts to become shorter and sharper and shallower. As soon as we get dysregulated, our breathing changes and we're not taking big, deep breaths, right? We're not taking full breaths. So again, it's one of the most powerful ways that we can help slow our brain and our body down. Okay. So the physiological sigh, one of my favorites, right? So easy to do like anywhere, anytime. Nobody knows, right? So the second one that I wanted to share with you is what's called the butterfly hug. Okay. I'm going to tell you how to do it. And you can always like Google like or YouTube a video of it, right? Because then you can just see it in action, but I'll walk you through it. But the butterfly hug I love, and this is a form of bilateral stimulation, which is very, very powerful, right? Especially for ADHD brains. And I'm going to tell you why that is. But let me just tell you, first of all, how to do the butterfly hug, okay? So what you do is you cross your arms over your chest, right? So that your hands are resting like kind of on your armpits, just kind of where your armpits are or just kind of below your collarbone sort of thing, right? It's kind of like you're giving yourself a hug, but you're not wrapping your arms around, you're not wrapping your hands around the side of your arms, you're just laying them on your chest, okay? So you cross your arms over your chest, okay? And then you gently tap your hands. You tap the left, then you tap the right, then you tap the left, then you tap the right, okay? And you're doing it in a steady rhythm, not too fast, left, and then the right. And you breathe slowly while you're doing this. right? Breathe as you're tapping left, then you tap right, then you tap left, then you tap right. Now, you can do this for like 30 seconds. If you've got a couple of minutes, do it for a couple of minutes. And you will notice that in doing this, your breathing slows down. Sometimes you might find that you sigh or you yawn. Okay, these are good signs because they're helping you to regulate. If you're not, again, going to yawn when you're being chased by a lion, right? So as you do this, right, you're breathing and you're tapping on your kind of your armpit, chest sort of area, left, then right, you will notice you start to feel more grounded, more calm, more safe. You dial back the intensity and the emotion, you start to feel a little bit more regulated, okay? So again, that's a real simple, easy one. It doesn't take long. You can pretty much do it anywhere. Some people are like, oh, but I don't want to do that in front of my workmates. Okay, no worries. Like, excuse yourself, go to the toilet, whatever, or use something else, right? But let's talk about bilateral stimulation and why this is so good, right? So bilateral stimulation basically just means that you're activating both sides of your brain, okay, in some rhythmic kind of back and forth way, like you're tapping on one side, then you're tapping on the other, okay, and you're doing it kind of repeatedly. And also this movement crosses the midline of your body. So if you were to imagine like a sort of center line that ran from your head right the way down towards your feet, like the midline of your body, okay? And when you do that, when you cross the midline, right, like your arms crossing over that midline, tapping alternate sides, right, your brain is helping to kind of process the emotion, right, or process the stress, etc. So this is often something that's used in like trauma therapy, like EMDR, right? But it's also incredibly helpful when it comes to emotional regulation, to grounding, to calming, to soothing the nervous system, which is why it is so good for ADHD brains. Okay, so any form of bilateral stimulation is epic. There's so many different ones out there. It's epic. But this butterfly hug, I just like it. It's just such a simple and easy one to be able to use. Okay, so again, this kind of just helps your brain process like emotional overwhelm, and it just sends signals to your nervous system that tell your brain and your body, yo, we're safe, right? So it can really help you to shift out of that fight, flight, freeze response that you could be in, right? And help you move towards being more regulated, okay? So let me tell you the third one. And I wonder if any of you have guessed this. You probably have, because I love this one. So my number 3, right? And this is in no particular order, but my third favorite emotional regulation tool is walking. Getting outside and walking in nature with the sunshine, if the rain's out, in the rain, whatever, right? Preferably with no device, okay? So I walk, and you guys have heard me talk about it before, like I aim to do 10,000 steps every single day. I get up in the morning, it's like the first thing I do. I go out for like a 45 minute walk. Like I just get out and move my body, walk, right? And then again in the afternoon when I finish work, before going from like work mode to like house home mode, I again do another walk and, get out, move my body. It's not about going fast. Sometimes I go at a decent pace, but most of the time I'm just kind of cruising, okay? So it's about just moving your body, because movement equals regulation, right? Physical movement helps to activate your nervous system in a good way, right? It helps to release that built up stress hormone, cortisol, right? Right? But it also helps to boost the good feeling brain chemicals. So we're helping to increase the dopamine, the serotonin, the endorphins, right? And we already know ADHD brains have got less dopamine and serotonin, and they feel good. Those are feel good chemicals that we need, that we want, right? Serotonin plays a big role in stabilizing mood, right? So again, when we are getting out there, moving our body, we're helping ourselves to regulate and build those brain chemicals at the same time, right? And those chemical shifts in the brain can help us to feel calmer, clearer, more in control, okay? But again, walking, right, just like bilateral stimulation, it engages both sides of the brain, right? So walking in nature is quite a rhythmic sort of a thing. We're alternating left foot, then right foot, then left foot, then right foot, which again provides that gentle form of bilateral stimulation, okay? Now, if we do it in nature, that's a bonus, right? If you just do it friggin' around the block of your like corporate area, right? Whatever, all good. Like there's massive benefits to that, right? And if you add the nature element, right? There are studies that show how time in nature helps to reduce blood pressure and lower the heart rate, right? There's studies that talk about how being out in nature helps to reduce the rumination part of the brain, right? The ruminating that happens. And it also boosts mood, helps with our attention span, right? If you're out in nature and you're hearing the trees, right? You're hearing the fresh air and, right? Like I've seen a lot of ducks out recently and there's been some little babies too, which is like so friggin' cute, right? Like all of that sensory input helps to calm the ADHD brain, right? Rather than the overwhelming office environment that you might have just walked out of, right? Like that is such a positive thing, again, helping us to soothe and to regulate. And then there's another bonus on top of that bonus, which is sunlight, okay? If you can get some sunlight on your skin, extra points, right? Because sunlight helps with the dopamine, helps to produce the dopamine and increase the production of dopamine, but it also helps with the circadian rhythm, which is where sleep comes into it, right? And, boosting our vitamin D out in that sunlight, it's going to help with our mood and with our brain health and all of these sorts of things. So again, like that is so helpful. But, just getting out, I'm talking like a 5-minute walk around the block. I'm not saying you have to go for a 30-minute walk. Hell no, right? Like I'm just talking, sometimes I will just get off my butt in my office chair right here. I'm sitting down at my desk and I will just walk around the block, which takes roughly 6 minutes to do. Like my smallest block that I could do is 6-minute block around there, right? Like just doing that, it gives me a space to feel my feelings and to get unstuck, to kind of work through what I'm going through, right? Like walking creates this sense of like forward momentum, forward movement, like mentally and emotionally, right? It feels like you're doing something kind of productive. But also it gives you that opportunity to reflect, to cry, to process, whatever it is. But it's helping your body, your nervous system to turn the dial back on the intensity of what you're feeling and process it through, okay? When emotions hit hard, we need to soothe or move, right? We need to soothe or move, right? Just like if you were to imagine calming a baby after a fright, right? Let's say a baby got a fright and then it's crying, right? You're not going to tell the baby, oh, just get over it, right? Get over it. You're fine. It wasn't anything to worry about. No, you would never do that. You would comfort them, right? You would maybe shake them up and down on your knee, kind of rub their back, that sort of a thing, right? That same kindness applies to you, and you need that same approach when it comes to regulating your emotions, right? Again, remember that this doesn't happen automatically on autopilot for us. We've got to do it manually, right? And the more we do this manually, the easier it becomes to identify when we are dysregulated, to use these tools, and then eventually they can get started. They can flick onto autopilot. I'm trying to find my words there. I found them. Right? Okay, so these are my three of my favorite ways to regulate emotions. Now, you can grab a cheat sheet. Remember, you can get the free cheat sheet for the podcast. Super easy. Just head to navigatingadultadhd.com/cheat sheet, and it will walk you through these 3 things. It will tell you like how to do it, how to do the bilateral stimulation, how to do the physiological sigh, all of that. And that way you have got it there the next time you need it. You've got the cheat sheet in your back pocket. Okay. So again, number 1 is that physiological sigh, the double inhale, long exhale. Number 2 is the butterfly hug, right? Which is a form of bilateral stimulation. And number 3 is getting out and going for a walk. Right? Going for a walk anywhere. And if you can get it in nature, get some sunshine, bonus. That's awesome. All right, my friends. Play with these emotional regulation tools. Have a beautiful week, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye. Hey friend, if you want some more help navigating and thriving with ADHD and some help applying everything that you're learning here on the podcast, then head over to our website, navigatingadultadhd.com.